Is Wing Fei Feng or just Wing. I'm a programmer. Here I'm going to demo you my Readme generator. You know how when you go online, you look at those repositories on GitHub or whatever, GitLab. They have these Readmes um, that uses the markdown format. I thought it'd be nice if I have a Readme generator, something I can use on the command line, and just quickly generate a high quality Readme without having to focus too much on the markdown format. So I can focus more on coding. What I'm showing you here is I'm currently in the folder of the Readme generator I created in Node.js. You have only one file that's needed. No modules. I loaded a package called inquiry. It allows me to do the kind of command line user interface that I want to quickly answer my questions to generate my README. It allows you multiple choices to pick the license. It allows you to type in information such as the name of the repository, and it allows you to just press enter and skip the question. If you skip a question, it'll affect the README that gets generated by not having that part of the README as part of the output. Let's try this out. Going to the terminal, you're gonna run by running node index.js, and it'll start asking you a question, name of the repository. For this case, let's create a README for my README generator. README generator. Now the name, so that would be the GitHub username. It'll be my name, sci-fi880 GitHub. You're welcome to visit my repositories. The link to my GitHub profile. Let's see. I have it here, so I can just copy and paste it. Email I can be reached is wffung@ucdavis.edu. A description is, this is a sample README. No, actually, I'm making a README for this README generator. So this is a README generator from command line. Installation instructions. Clone repository. Install Inquirer. That's the npm package I have saved in package.json. So you can just type npm install once you're in my repository on your computer. And then run index.js while you with like node index.js. So that'll be the instructions, installation instructions, usage information. Well, I just mentioned the usage information in the installation information, so I can skip that. By skipping that, it's not going to generate a usage section in the README or in the table of contents. Skip that. Now here, what's sweet about inquiry package, it allows my README generator to let you press up and down on the keyboard and you can choose the license. I believe a lot of people are familiar with the MIT license, so let's just choose that. Based on the license, it's going to give you a link to the license, sort of like legal text, and also gives you a badge of that license on top of the README, which is pretty cool, and people can recognize the license right away. Contribution guidelines. I don't have any contribution guidelines, such as like how they can contribute, what other information, what other features I want for my README generator. I don't have any ideas right now, but I'm open to suggestions. So I'm open to suggestions on new features. So that's what I'm gonna put in that section. Next question is test instructions. I don't think I need much testing for this command line tool. It's a pretty simple script, so I'm going to skip that section. It's not going to appear on README. Now, after you answer all the questions, it'll show you what would be generated in the README file. It's written. Look at my mouse cursor, and you'll see it's written to the generated-readme.md, and you'll have this entire README file. Here's the table of contents that's generated. for each section that's applicable. If you press enter and skip a question, then it's going to be blank. It's not going to, that section will not appear here, and it will not appear under table of contents. We talk about installation. This is what I entered earlier. The license, contribution, I'm open to suggestions on new features, and questions. Question section is just a catch-all for the purpose of this demo. It catches information like your username, your repository link, and my email and how you can reach me. If you didn't answer your GitHub username or your repository link, then these two pieces of information will not appear under questions. So the pieces of information appear under questions, again, depending on what questions you answer. Again, the license, right here, MIT license, this is the link to the legal text. And at the top, it generates the badge. As you can see, there's a badge here from this link. It's a SVG file. It will generate a image at the top of the README. To prove that this is created, I'm going to just open it in my Finder, or of your own Windows. It's your Explorer. So you see generated -readme.md, like it say once you finish answering the questions. And this is the markdown format for the README. I am going to open this README on my browser. One of the options you can have is to upload it or push it to GitHub, and then you see the README. Another option is to install Chrome extensions or Firefox extensions that formats the README on your page, and that's what I've done. I've started a local server. Forgive me, that was my daily portal of sorts, where I have my to-do list every day. I created that for myself. Localhost, I started this server, and it's gonna be under, it is under Readme Generator, and whatever that file name is. Great, so this is what you see with this Chrome extension. On GitHub, the README table of contents will be at the top, somewhere right here. With this Chrome extension, it generates the table of contents here, and you see the license here. That's the badge. This is the short description I've added. The installation instructions, the license link. You click it, it's gonna open the official legal text. I have that coded in there. There's also contribution section that I answer, and then the very first basic questions, username, repository link, and my email. That is just thrown under the question section. You can customize the README generator code any way you want. It is in Node.js. Forgive me, I split the view. It is in Node.js, so it's pretty easy to code. All done through command line. For the next section of this video, I've already demonstrated to you that I was able to generate a README. I am going to demonstrate how I coded this app, so I can show you my thought process, how I think as a developer. If you're not interested in how I program this command line tool, you're welcome to just jump ahead to the description underneath to find your link to this repository. And with that link, you can clone it and start using my README generator for all your other projects. All right, let's jump into the code. All right, most of the code, or all of the code, is actually under index.js, but you do have a package.json here. The package.json is something you can install with npm init. You can just do npm init, and then you answer a series of questions like what you saw earlier, and those series of questions would generate this package file. But if you press yes, if you enter yes as an option, it will skip the questions and generate this file here with the very basic options. As you notice right here, there's a dependency called inquiry. Inquiry is the package or npm package or node package that allows me to do those fancy prompts, such as selecting the license using the up and down arrow on the keyboard and entering information or skipping information. So you can manually add inquiry to package.json, or you can in the command line in the same folder as where you would have cloned the inquiry. Well, let's just say you have a fresh package.json, or you're going to create one. First, you're going to be npm init yes. After you've done that, it's going to be npm install, and then you're going to have this option save and then inquiry. The purpose of save or save to development is that it'll save the dependency inquiry here, such that this package would be saved under the folder node underscore modules, such that in your script or in my script, you could require inquiry and start using inquiry, which have these basic prompts. As you can see, name of your repository, your GitHub user, link to your GitHub profile, and your email, which should look very familiar. It's the same questions I answered earlier. Those are the basic questions that go under the questions section. As you notice, there's also a FS module. That's not one that I indicated under package.json. That is a more global node module that's available on the computer where I had installed Node. And you need Node to run npm, and with Node you already have FS. FS is the file system that allows me to, first, you saw I generated the readme code, or sorry, readme text, but I have to write it to a file, and I write that to a file using, and we'll go through this code. It's the purpose of this section of the video. Just go write. So write file synchronous. So there's synchronous and asynchronous. Writing this synchronously. The text file is considerably very small. It'll be very fast. I don't have to make it asynchronous. So going through this code, with inquiry, I pass it a series of, or an array of answer objects, or question answer objects, sorry. I pass the array of question answer objects. Each object, I gave it a title here, I gave it a GitHub username here, GitHub profile link, email here. So that will convert all those prompts to an object that has title, object, GitHub username. You would have key value pairs in the object that inquiry returns after the user answers all those questions. So the name field is the variable name, or the key of the new object that this is going to return. All right. So I had some problems with my that part of the corner that shows my face, but it's okay. We'll continue the rest of this. So it goes through all these questions. A specific question that's special here is the license, because remember, you can press up and down to choose your license, and that's how I did it. I'm not sure if it can show me earlier. No, it can't. Where there's a separator between groups of licenses. That's how you do it. You call inquiry again, and then you call the separator method. You have to indicate Besides the others you have the name and the message. Here you have the name, the choices, and you need to indicate the type. So the package knows to allow the user to choose answers. Okay, contributions, tests, and then it returns an object, right? This object would be answers.title, answers.github username, and so forth. From here, I destructure the object so that I have these individual variables like pluck out of answers. So I don't have to refer to the title of my repository, for example, of the README that I answer to as answers.title. I can just refer to it as title. It makes the coding a lot easier. From here, I start creating a generated text. I'm using template literals. So I can plug in the variables here. As you can see, this table of contents. Table of contents here, I have my own symbol that I'm going to replace later because it's a bit more complicated. I want to use its own function for this. But how this works is at the very top of the generated README, here would be a string for now. It's not actually written to the file yet. I have a tertiary operator. I'm short-circuiting this. Basically what it means is it looks at the variable, does it exist? It's undefined. It's returned as undefined if it's not part of the object, because that's what inquiry does. If the user press enters without answering it, like skip the question, it'll be undefined. If it's not undefined, this is just to be more straight. Make sure that the string has like at least one character, and if it does, return the title. And you're gonna put at least 3 equal signs under the title, and that's gonna create into like the big heading under markdown format. If there is no title, you just gotta return blank, which is fine. It's not gonna add any new lines or white spaces to the string text. You do the same thing for the license, except for the license. Remember at the top you have the badge. So I created an object called licenser. If you scroll down here, there's licenser, and inside here you have get text and get badge. I'm calling licenser get badge, and I'm passing the choice that the user chose. And based on that, I'm using a switch statement. For example, if I chose MIT, which I did, it would return this string, and this string is in markdown format. First of all, a link to the legal text, but also it's a picture in SVG format, and that's what you have here at that part of the generated text right here. Then I do the same thing for description, but I changed the heading description to like the equivalent of H2 instead of H1. You do that by putting 3 dashes underneath instead of at least 3 equals. Then I do the same thing for installation, usage, license, contribution, tests. With usage, remember I skipped the usage section, so usage is undefined, definitely, but I was just being straight. Usage length, if it weren't undefined, it would be 0 length. So this section is skipped. It's never printed. And another special thing is the license text. This is actually the link to the license. Here you have the link, the license. You click it, it'll go to the official legal text. Let me click back, go back to my README. Remember, back to the licenser object, we have a get text, and get text is doing the same thing with a switch statement. It'll go look for the case MIT, and it'll generate the link. This is the markdown format for link. Going back there, we're continuing. Pretty much that's all of it. Questions. So if you answer any of these 3 basic questions, username, repository link, and your email, then the question section will pop up with the question heading or the 3 dashes. So I create a boolean, has question details, and in here it checks if any of these are undefined, Oh, sorry, excuse me. If any of these are not undefined, and if any of these has a length. If any of these has a length and you add in all the lengths, it's gonna be greater than 0. So has question details would know whether or not you answer at least one of those questions. If you answer at least one of those questions, it'll generate the questions subheading, and then for each individual question, each individual basic question, it'll generate the appropriate line using the same logic I discussed earlier. Um, One problem with this approach is you notice there's a lot of blank lines here, and based on what's skipped, there might be double, triple lines. So I have a replace code that replaces 3 lines to 1 line, and that fixes that issue. Um, the other issue we had to skip was table of contents because I wanted to put that piece of code into another part of the script because it's more complicated than using short circuits here. Basically, what I'm doing is I create my own symbol. I'm going to parse it. I'm going to replace this with the actual table of contents. What I'm doing here, I'm calling add table of contents, and there are all these variables, so I can check whether or not they exist. If they exist, then there would be a link to that section in the table of contents. I'm also passing the text so it can be modified so we can add the table of contents. So go into that function, the declaration of it, you'll see here is it checks each section if they exist or whether or not the user answered them or press enter and skip them. If it does, it adds that part to the table of contents by appending to a blank string. Eventually, it'll collect all of those table of content links, and then from there, it'll replace the underscore underscore table of contents underscore underscore, but not before we add a table of contents subheading, of course. That's only if the user answer at least one of these questions, right? So that's the whole logic here. Going back to the normal flow here, once we have the generated text, we write it to a file called generated-readme.md, and we also print it out to the terminal. So that's what you see here. These two lines, well, this line and the beginning of all these lines are pretty much these lines. And of course, you have to catch any errors with incurrer. For example, like if you're not using incurrer correctly, it'll give you an error at the catch statement, and so you can hone down to what you're doing wrong. These prompts, there are a lot of lines, so I'm gonna collapse them, see if I can collapse them and just show you the pattern of how to use incurrer to design command line user interfaces. All right, then can I do that? Yes. But so Visual Code is not being very forgiving right now. It's making it very hard to collapse the appropriate sections. That's something outside of my control. But here's inquiry. You load it from the known modules. You enter the prompts or the question and answers section, and then once the user answer all those prompts, it's going to return an object called answers. Inside those answers have key value pairs based on the name field and what the user entered. So you see those prompts have name fields, and these would be the keys, and the values would be what the user entered. And then you do what you have to do with the answers the user provided, but you don't close it off. You have to do a catch. You do a catch, check for any errors, and the rest of the code is the table of contents function used to create the table of contents part of the generated README, and also the next part of it is the object where I have helper functions to generate the link to the license legal text and to generate the badge or the picture of the license. So that's my code from line 1 to line 250. Again, this is Wing Fei Feng. I'm proud to show you my Readme generator. Refer to the description to check out the repository, clone it, use it for your own professional or personal reasons. And stay tuned for more coding videos. Feel free to subscribe, click like, share this video. Thank you so much.